thank you for joining me today for our Connect University on Salesforce Release Readiness. Hands-on Connect Cloud Solutions is excited to be able to provide any and all the digital solutions you need, whether it is our flagship volunteer management product, Hands-on Connect, additional insights and trainings with the other Connect University sessions, learning about additional tools through our Connect Exchange series, Salesforce implementation and configuration, custom-built applications, or our stellar support, including virtual administration. We've got you covered. As we like to remind our guests in today's training, I am recording today's session for future viewing. I am part of a really great team here at Hands-on Connect Cloud Solutions. Our mighty team consists of Alfredo, Esteban, Jenny, Livy, Melissa, Larry, Luis, and myself. I'm Art Ordoki, and I'm glad to be here with you today. Since this is a 20-minute presentation, I will be touching on just a few of the highlights in Salesforce Release Readiness. To get us started, what is Release Readiness? Salesforce has 3 releases a year: spring, summer, and winter. And we're nearing the end of the Spring 17 deployment cycle. For every Salesforce release, there is a preview period, release notes, a deployment and rollout schedule, and then the option on how you're going to roll these features out to your individual organization. Salesforce provides release milestones for every release. What you see here is the milestones for the Spring 17 release. The release started back in December, and the first item to call out is the Sandbox Preview. If you want to play with the features in the new release in advance of it being released to general production, you need to set up a sandbox to receive it. Salesforce provides directions and step-by-step information on how to request the Sandbox Preview. The next item is the Release Overview deck. That was available in January and kind of highlights the features that are going to be coming into what to look for in the Spring 17 release. The most important milestone probably is the staggered release. For Spring 17, that occurred on February 23rd, and this coming weekend on February 10th and 11th. We'll go into that in more detail later. So to get started with the Sandbox Preview, all Power of Us customers from Salesforce.org have 3 different types of sandboxes available: Developer, Developer Pro, and Partial Copy. Full copy sandboxes can be purchased from Salesforce.org for an additional cost. But in most cases, a partial copy would suffice. The Developer and Developer Pro sandboxes bring over configurations and settings in your instance into the sandbox, but don't really bring over the data. Partial copy, as the name implies, brings over some of your data, but you will need to create a Salesforce sandbox template to tell Salesforce what type of information you want to bring over. In all of these, there may be some additional configurations that are necessary, such as having the Hands-on Connect customer record in your organizations, listed among your organizations for Hands-on Connect to function. If you need help creating a sandbox, we will provide a link in the video on how to create the sandbox and sandbox templates. The other thing that's really important is once you've created the sandbox is knowing the location. As you can see here, the locations vary for each sandbox, and that is going to be important for what steps you need to do in order to receive any of the release previews. Again, Salesforce provides Sandbox Preview documentation and how to request and make sure that your instance is ready to be to receive the preview in advance of the general release. Things to keep in mind are how recently you've refreshed your sandbox, and if you need to refresh it in advance of that cutoff. The next major tool that Salesforce provides for its releases is the release notes. The release notes can be accessed via a PDF document, and this Spring 17 release is 500 pages. So definitely a lot of reading. But because of that, Salesforce also provides the Salesforce Spring Release website. This is a website dedicated just to the release notes of the Spring 17 release. The great thing about this is that it allows you to filter the release notes for the information that's relevant to your organization. For many of our customers, they are still on the Salesforce Classic version of Salesforce and using the Enterprise Edition. And so you want to make sure to filter the release notes to find the items that are relevant to that. I'm going to pause here and just give you a glance of the release notes website itself and point out one other feature. In addition to filtering by the Experience and Enterprise Edition, you also may want to look at feature impact. Things that are enabled for all users versus things that require admins to enable. So that way you can be prepared for questions that your users are going to ask you and which features you may need to take some additional steps to bring to your organization. Other resources that are available is a full release website. The release website provides lots and lots of documentations and breaks down the information about all the different clouds and services available through Salesforce. This is a really great tool. It has lots of wonderful information. The Release Readiness and Feature Adoption is a Salesforce success community that is dedicated to providing customers with the latest and greatest information related to the release. There's information about the Sandbox Previews, quick links to the release site and release notes, as well as access to lots of videos and blogs related to the release. In addition, the Release Readiness community also does a treasure hunt for every release to help customers identify and share what they are looking forward to and most excited about the upcoming releases. Salesforce.org also provides webinars that are tailored to the nonprofit and higher ed communities. So you definitely want to check out the Spring Release webinar coming up on February 23rd, offered by Salesforce.org. In addition to this webinar, there's lots of Salesforce Live and other webinars that provide information on the release. I wanted to give you a moment just to kind of breeze over the actual release site. You can watch overview videos that highlight the features available. You can download preview documentation, and you can look at information based on all the different clouds. I would pay attention to the Sales Cloud and Service Cloud functionality since most of our customers have access to many of these features. Also, make sure to look for things related to chatter as well as automations, since these are very helpful features for our customers. This is the Release Readiness and Feature Adoption community group. And as you can see, they have a lot of links and quick resources. It's also a very active group with lots of customers sharing insights and questions about the release and things that they are finding. And as I said, Salesforce.org is having its own highlights of the spring release, and they do this for every release that Salesforce offers. So you want to make sure to register for that, and you can do so from salesforce.org/events. Now that you've gone through and reviewed all the resources and accessed the community, the big day is coming. So how do you know if you or when you receive the release? As part of the milestone map that I showed you earlier, it provides the dates for the staggered releases. Releases usually take place over a 2-weekend period, with the first release happening for spring on February 3rd, and the second release to the remaining customers on February 10th and 11th. If you're unsure which instance of Salesforce you're in and will be expecting to receive the release, you can find that information in the URL when you're logged into Salesforce. It will tell you right there, NA7. Since NA7 was released last weekend, on the home page, when you log into Salesforce, there's also a Discover Spring 17 button that will appear on the right-hand side of the home screen. So you can look for that to know that you've received the release. So now that you've received the release, what next? Well, as a system administrator, it's really important that you manage the rollout of these features to your users. You want to make sure that you develop a plan and communicate that information to your users within your organization. Things to really pay attention and focus on are things that are auto-enabled versus admin-enabled requirements, as I mentioned earlier. You may want to consider doing a limited rollout and enabling features for just some of your profile users and some of the more advanced users in your organization. This will help you provide feedback and create other individuals within the organization that can share the excitement about the new features with their colleagues. If you didn't do the Sandbox Preview, now's a great time to refresh your Sandbox to be able to test some of these enabling these features in that Sandbox environment. Cannot stress enough how important it is to enable features in Sandbox. Even though Salesforce does a great job with their releases, there may be some things that conflict with other customizations or applications that you have in your instance. For example, Salesforce recently, a few releases ago, released state and country territory pick list values to help standardize data for account and contact records. This is a great feature, and Hands-on Connect is compatible with this functionality. However, it does require that the integration values be set in a very specific way. And so you want to make sure that you enable that in such a way that it will not interrupt your other systems. It could even conflict with other applications that you have in your system. And so you really want to research that before enabling it in production. Lastly, you want to look at what is going to be the biggest bang for your users. You want to look for things that are going to be really easy to implement, but really help address some of the issues that your colleagues and staff are feeling when using Salesforce. Focusing on those will create ambassadors for Salesforce and the new features within your organization. If you need help coming up with your plan and learning a little bit more about what the Spring 17 release or any of the Salesforce releases provide, you can also check out Trailhead, where there's a Spring 17 module that's going to be available next Monday, and there's past modules for the Winter 16 and Summer 16 releases there available as well if you haven't had a chance to look at those. Well, I hope that you enjoy today's webinar on Salesforce Release Readiness and are excited to start exploring the features of Spring 17. I know I am, and the rest of the team at Hands-on Connect Cloud Solution is as well. We hope that you join us next week when we have one of our Connect Exchange partners back. Click and Pledge is going to be discussing their peer-to-peer fundraising solution for nonprofits. Next Thursday, we'll be back here featuring a Hands-on Connect 3.0 tool of advanced registration system. And then later this month, we'll be bringing in another Connect Exchange partner, Map Anything, to show how their tool can help with your volunteer recruitment. We really encourage you to learn more about these partners and upcoming sessions at handsonconnect.org/webinars. And this, like other Connect University and Connect Exchange sessions, are available to watch again through our website. We highly encourage you to check out the 3-part series on campaigns that we recently did and the past Connect Exchange from Click and Pledge to help you get ready for those sessions next week and later this month with Map Anything. Again, we thank you for joining us today for Hands-on Connect University, and look forward to seeing you again in the future. Goodbye.